Well, it's a whole new day out here at White Swan, and we have the opportunity today for the mayflies. That's right, we've always come to this lake and had great mayfly action, and we're in Mayfly Bay. This is what we call Mayfly Bay.
Yeah.
So what do you think the odds of getting a good mayfly action?
I know, it's perfect.
It is, isn't it?
Thunder shower just went over.
And I just caught one. Oh, gee, fish on. And I just put a mayfly on. Whoa!
How did you got my line in the water?
We just got out here. We just got out here, and look at that with a Mayfly Nymph. So it's mayflies today as we take you sport fishing on the fly.
Way to go, Don.
Hey.
Sport Fishing on the Fly is brought to you in part by Islander Reels, Precision Reels, Hardy & Gray's Fly Fishing Rods, born to fish, and the Freshwater Fishery Society of BC. Catch what you've been missing. Go Fish BC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
You ate that mayfly.
That is awesome.
That's good. That's good.
That was great jumps, eh?
The air that fish got.
Wow.
This is a nice fish.
We have two different techniques going on right now. I've got the indicator, just fishing wind drifting, and Brian's gone naked. He's just got his line straight out with a long leader. And you've got the same fly, or do you have one similar? What kind?
Just a flashback pheasant tail.
Flashback pheasant tail, which I have on too. And of course, that's, oh, look at these fish. They're all over the place. They're in here feeding on the mayflies. And I think that's what we'll do a little later on the bench. We'll probably tie this fly up because it is a great Calabatus imitation, which is the mayfly we're fishing.
Yeah, you know, I think it sounds like their mays are just starting. They've been late on White Swan.
They are, it's mid-June. Usually they come off a little earlier.
And so that's why, you know, flashback nymphs like that, they're a bit sparkly, but they get their attention.
Yeah.
And they're good early in the mayfly.
When there's not a huge hatch.
That's right. They get a little pickier when there's
not. When it's overwhelming. But that's a nice fish.
They're definitely looking for them.
Oh yeah. That looks good. That looked to be about 18, eh? Fresh.
It's a nice fish.
Beautiful. Yeah. Nice chrome silver. That's the thing about White Swan too, is they're just chrome silver fish in here. It's just, they're some of the prettiest fish.
Oh, this fish is all light back, silver side, been on the marl. Our kind of fish.
We should, after, you're gonna have to show everybody that technique. You know, you just kind of slowly bring it back, figure eights. It's almost like, what do you compare it to?
The nymphs are just wiggling through the water, heading up.
Do they move up in the
shallow,
column?
Put a 20-degree angle to the surface of the lake.
So now you have straight dry line, or do you have the midge tip?
I've got the midge tip.
Midge tip.
The 1 meter clear intermediate tip.
Which Rio makes, which is a great line.
It's a great line, I love it.
Yeah, because it sinks down a little bit, gets you on that 20-degree angle, and you can just bring the fly back up.
So we're anchored in 12 feet of water, fishing 12 feet. Boy, there's some nice fish.
Oh, there is. I'm even going to help you with this one, Brian. That's pretty.
That's a pretty fish.
Isn't it?
Look how light the back is.
Oh, I know. They're just gorgeous, chrome colored. Yeah. Just a nice fish. You know, that's probably going to be the average size we're going to catch today.
Yeah, we might get lucky and get some bigger. We've seen them bigger.
Yeah, we've seen them bigger. And what I've noticed too out here is when it gets just a little bit kind of into the afternoon, late afternoon, like 4 or 5 o'clock, almost dinner time, that's when those big guys tend to really want to come in and
lower
come
light.
Lower light. And we've got the perfect conditions.
Lots of cover.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we'll get them out there, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about the technique.
Sure. Sounds good.
And you're just saying about not just looking for fish activity, you're saying the birds too.
Certainly watching for birds, swallows, nighthawks, gulls, especially on mayflies. They really do tell you something's going on out there.
And they really skim down in the water. They'll actually dip and pull them right off the water. Oh, gee, fish on. That's twice I've been looking the other way. Oh, this is a nice fish too. Just ripping the mayfly. Oh, this is just great. Well, that's another nice fish, Bri.
Another nice one?
Yeah, another nice one. Oh, these mayflies are starting to pop. Isn't this great?
Oh, this is
what it's all about. I just love this. Oh, man.
this is what we wanted.
Yeah. Oh, this is so much fun.
It's great.
And we're doing, and the nice thing is we got both techniques. Like I'm
Yeah.
using the indicator, just let it sit, and you're moving it. So they're like, they don't care if it's moving or sitting.
Yeah,
They just want it.
they want them.
But I've got to mention again, I am getting some movement because of the wind.
Yep.
Right, I'm getting a
Yes.
bit of a wind drift, so that helps. There it is, right in that corner part of the left. There it is. There's what we're going to tie on the bench. So right after we let you go, after we let this guy go, we're going to go to the bench and tie you that up. And it's just a little flashback pheasant tail.
Yep.
Great Calabatus imitation.
Yep.
And that's the Mayfly Nymph.
And
So let's just see if he has some in him, because they're just starting to come off big time. Oh, he's been feeding on something.
Yep. So, he's been on, slippery little guy.
Slippery little guy. It's the thing about fish, Brian. You're gonna get me soaked again. Oh, he didn't. Awesome. All right, let's check it out. What is it?
Well, he ate a cron.
He ate a chronomid.
There's five
Wow.
cron in pupa there. 6.
Oh, a mayfly.
One mayfly.
One mayfly and 4 or 5 chronomids. So he's in here feeding. But the mayflies have just started.
Yep, they've just started. Yeah.
But we could get them on chronomids too.
Probably
But
could.
that's not what the show's about today. It's all about mayflies, so we'll pass.
We don't say that very often.
No, that's right. Today on the bench, I'm going to tie you up Don's flashback. If you want an outstanding Mayfly nymph, this is the one. Make sure you have your materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we're going to use a Mustad C53S size 14. We'll tie using some 8/0 olive thread, some brown pheasant tail for the body. We'll use some copper wire for the ribbing, some peacock herl for the thorax, some pheasant tail for the tail and the legs, and some anti-static bag for the flashback. To start the fly off, I've tied on my thread. I've taken about 8 to 10 strands of my pheasant tail, and I'm just going to make them about half the length of the hook and tie them in for the tail. And make sure you always wrap behind the tail just to make sure it stands up. And cut off your excess. Take some copper ribbing and we'll tie this in, and we're going to rib up the body with this later. So make sure you bring it right back to where you tied in the tail. After we have the ribbing tied in, we're going to take some of our anti-static bag and we're going to tie this in, and this is going to actually form our whole back on the fly and thorax casing on the fly. So we'll just tie this back to the hook and leave this off for a little bit later. After we have the anti-static bag tied in, I've taken a good clump of pheasant tail. I've probably taken twice as much as I used to tie in the tail. And now I'm going to tie them in by the tips. And this is important. You want to tie them in by the tips into the body. Wrap your thread back towards the tail of the hook. And then wrap your thread back forward and leave a lot of room for the thorax. So you probably want 2/3 up the hook to leave the thread there. And now we're going to clip on to our pheasant tail and just wrap it forward to form the body. And only go up to where you left your thread off about 2/3 of the way up the hook. We're now going to take our anti-static bag that we had hanging off the back of the hook. We're going to pull it over our newly formed body that we did with the pheasant tail and just tie it off there. But don't cut the anti-static bag. What we're going to do is pull this back and just leave that there. And now take your copper wire and take about 3 to 4 wraps over your anti-static bag and rib the body. Once the body's tied in and we have the anti-static bag pulled over to form the body, I'm going to take about 2 to 3 strands of our peacock herl and we're going to tie this in for the thorax. So tie it in where we left off on the body and take about 2 to 3 turns to form the thorax up towards the eyelet of the hook. Once the thorax is tied in, there's lots of different things you can use to tie in the legs. There's a lot of small, softer hackles. Any kind of soft hackle works well, but I like to actually use the pheasant tail. So all I do is trim off about 4 of the pheasant tail tips, and I'll just make them about half the length of the body, and just tie it in right at the eyelet, right in front of my fly. So I'll put, a few legs out one side of the fly, and then I'll move to the other side of the hook and put about 3 or 4 legs out that side. To finish the fly off, we have our legs tied off on both sides, and we still have our anti-static bag left on the top. Now we're just going to pull this over to form the thorax casing right to the eyelet of the hook and tie off there, right at the eyelet. And make sure your 2 sets of wings are on both sides of this, so they splay out to the side. To finish the fly off, we're going to take our whip finisher and whip finish off the head. And since I'm using the green thread, I like to put a nice little green head on this fly. There's another good material also is red thread if you want a redder finish on the fly, but I prefer the green thread. It seems to finish it off nicely. So there it is, Don's flashback. This pattern works very well under an indicator and also on a clear intermediate sink line when there's mayflies coming off.
The setup I'm using today is I've got a 9.5 foot rod, 6 weight, and I'm using the real midge tip, which is a full floating line and a 1 meter clear intermediate tip. That's a great line for fishing chironomids, mayflies, caddis pupa as well, damselflies. And I'm fishing with about a 15-foot leader down to 4-pound fluorocarbon, my last tippet section. And I've tied a bead-headed flashback pheasant tail nymph on with a loop knot, non-slip loop knot, just to provide a little bit more action in the water, especially when you get a bit of wave action as well. And the retrieve I'm using is a fairly steady hand twist retrieve where I'm just collecting the line between my thumb and my baby finger and my retrieve hand. And then every once in a while, every 3 or 4 hand twists, give it a couple quick pulls, keeping my rod tip right on the water. And so I'm trying to maintain as a direct line connection between the fly rod, the line, and the leader that I'm retrieving through the water.
So my setup's just a little slightly different than Brian's because I'm using the indicator. And with the indicator, a lot of times we'll use some kind of weight, either a small split shot, a swivel. They make that little putty weight you can put on there, some kind of weight to get the fly down. What that does is keep the fly in the proper vertical zone, and then you can bring that fly back on a more of a horizontal plane, which allows you to cover a zone. Essentially, I'm covering a certain zone, and when I'm retrieving the fly, since I am in a horizontal zone, I'll let it sit statically. I can let it sit for a little while and then keep moving it. Unlike Brian's where he keeps it moving and undulating, ours is just sitting in the zone, and then you'll move it a little bit. Let it sit again and move it a bit. So you get 2 different ways of actually presenting the fly. One's actually a little more motion, and this one here you can actually let it sit. And a lot of times when you get a small riffle on the water, this setup is ideal because the wind will carry that indicator for you and give the fly the natural motion. So another tip, retrieve wise, again, like I was mentioning, let it sit a little bit, a couple little hand twist retrieves once in a while, just give it some motion and let it sit. So just keep doing that, alternating back and forth. It's a very effective method. I've lost the riffle, but he still took it on the indicator.
No, so that's a good point. You know, when she flattens off, it gets a little tougher.
It is tougher.
That wave action really, it's a benefit for us.
Yeah, why is that? Because the fish, you figure they can see us?
They can see us, and this is ultra clear water, so when we have the chop on the water, it masks us from them. They can't see us, we can't see them, and they have more confidence in feeding.
Sure, yeah, they can come in the shallow water,
predators,
right? Yeah, not as much light. Another nice one. Anytime you're catching fish like this all day long, that's just great. And he ate it, didn't he? I might need pliers or forceps for that one. He really ate it.
You were a little late on the take?
I think maybe, eh? Well, I saw my indicator go under, and I was just wondering, is that a fish? Let's see, yeah, he do. Oh, no,
it's upside down in the mouth.
Upside down.
Right,
there it is, right there. Look at that, right in the tip.
Right where we want it.
Yeah, there he is. There's that little guy we tied you on the bench. That flashback,
Yeah.
maybe the flash really adds to it.
It does.
What do you think?
Oh, it does.
Get this guy out of here. It's just a little guy. Nice size though, you're catching fish like this all day long. you know, 16, 17
yeah.
inches. It's
Can't
a blast.
complain.
Chrome, there you go.
Good job.
So we should probably take a moment and talk a little bit about the life cycle
Sure.
of the mayfly.
Mayflies. So,
Yeah.
first of all, the most common species we see in British Columbia lakes in Western Canada are members of the Calabatus family,
Are they only in lakes, Calabatus?
and slow-moving productive
okay,
rivers,
okay.
but predominantly ponds and lakes.
Okay.
So, and they're living on the shoal, in the shallow water, you know, in the Cara, in the marl,
Okay.
where there's vegetation. So they're not living in 60, 70 feet of water. They're going to be in 25 feet of water or
Oh,
less.
okay.
And they have what we call an incomplete metamorphosis. They have an egg, nymph, and adult stage. But the adult stage has two parts, the non-reproductive dun, and then a spinner, or the reproductive stage called the spinner, which is a molt. When the dun hatches, it molts into the spinner stage.
Okay, and the dun, I notice, have the darker wings.
And the duns have opaque wings. You can't see through them.
Oh, the duns have opaque wings. Okay,
So,
yep.
so if you arrive at your favorite lake and there's
Yeah.
duns flying around and you can't see through the wings, then you know they hatched that day. But if you just see spinners flying around with clear wings, you know they hatched the day before. You should have been there yesterday.
Okay, now the spinners, now are they going to lay the eggs?
Yep,
The spinners?
and so
they're
the
getting ready.
clear-winged mayflies are the spinners lay the eggs. But what the trout really key on is that when the mayfly nymphs are fully matured, they swim and they wiggle sinusoidally on a very shallow angle to the surface of the lake. So
And you're
they're
saying about 20 degrees? you
about
were
20
saying?
degrees, very shallow, but they're wiggling, they pause, they wiggle, and they pause, and as soon as they get to the surface of the lake, the split forms on the back of its thorax, and the adult crawls out, sits momentarily on the water like a little sailboat, dries its wings, and then takes off.
And you can tell the shucks. You can see the shucks
Yeah.
on the water are bigger. They've almost got like little fins on them.
Yeah, it's the gills.
The gills,
The
yeah.
gills that you see along the
And you see
abdomen.
that on the shuck.
That's
so you
right.
know when you're seeing mayfly shucks on the water and you see
gonna-
maybe some duns on the water,
That's
you
right.
know they've recently
you know
hatched.
you're going to see that they've been hatching. And so what we're trying to do is imitate those nymphs as they're swimming through the water and up towards the surface.
So I think we should continue to try to imitate.
I think that's
Are you
a good
going to put the bobber on? Or?
I'm putting the indicator back out.
Yeah, you know what? We found that too, is you moving the nymph on that angle.
Yep.
You had a few early, right? Some good
Yep.
hits, but that bobber, they
Yeah.
want it sitting for a while, eh? Maybe staying horizontal.
Stays in the
Yeah,
zone
stays
longer
in the
that the
zone.
fish are comfortable feeding in.
There you
Correct.
go.
That's
two
probably what
two
it
different
is.
techniques you can
Yeah.
use, and a little bit about
Yeah.
the metamorphosis cycle of the mayfly.
There you go. How's that, Dawn? I just put it out. I tried to put the midge tip away and put.
Isn't that crazy? You just put the indicator on, first cast, bam. Okay, it's proved, and the indicator is the way to go today. Like it
Yeah,
has
they
been
just-
the most effective.
They just want it on the.
They just want it sitting there. But it's a nice option for the folks to have.
Oh,
like, you
perfect.
know, if they're not taking it moving, even with a clear intermediate sink, a lot of times you'll fish a clear intermediate sink, let it sit down, and move the fly a little quicker. If you're not getting action that way, try the midge tip. If you're not getting it that way, go with the dry line with the indicator. That's the way it's going to work.
Bring this guy around.
He really? Oh, no, right in the corner.
Right in the corner. Just caught him and
Not too bad.
cleared him out. And barbless hook will pop out. If I could ever get a hold of it.
Yeah, I know. Thing about fish, they're slimy.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Little mayfly. Yeah, pretty well our standard fish today. Nice chrome bullet.
Can't
Beautiful.
complain.
That's a nice fish. Maybe these big guys are going to start coming on now.
He ate her.
Oh, he did. That was a dandy.
He hasn't woken up yet. There we go.
That was nice. It was good. It looked bigger when he jumped.
Yeah, yeah.
But how is he?
It's
He
still a
looks
nice.
good. Yeah,
It's a nice.
fish.
Oh,
That's a
go away. Get away from the boat. Maybe get him before he wakes up.
There he is.
That's why. It's a kelp.
Oh, it's a kelp. That's why. Yeah, but he sure skied, didn't he?
They are sure strong for being
Oh, no kidding.
sure this. It's well cleaned up. Oh, we'll let this guy go down.
And you said he's a kelp just coming off the spawn
Yep.
a little while ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ah, he's going to be a nice fish.
gonna be
Actually,
nice.
he is. He's already starting
Yeah.
to fatten up.
Oh yeah.
Well, the beauty is we're trying to work both angles. Like we've got a nice channel through here.
Yep.
We also have this kind of nice little shoal over this side. So
We've
we're
got the fresky riffle.
got the
looking
frisky
winter.
riffle, I know. And hopefully the rain stays off long enough for us to get a nice one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Don't get any closer. It's gonna come in the boat.
Is that big air time or what? That's crazy. That was 3 huge jumps. Boy, still going hard.
They want to The one on the indicator, I might have to put the
Yeah,
indicator on.
they really like that indicator. Just wind drifting, eh? We got that purple fresky riffle right now. Every time that comes up, I'm so confident with that indicator.
Oh, nice fish.
That is a nice fish. Pretty well our standard for the day, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. All righty, let's let this guy go. Look at that. There's that. Oh, there's the mayfly we tied you on the bench. Just sitting there. Another little guy.
Yep. Yeah.
Same size, you know, none of the big guys yet, but they'll move. There he is there. You know, nice little chrome bullet. He's just smacking it and feeding. Brian saw a couple of fish a little further down, so we just slid, what, into about 8 feet of water, eh?
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. Yeah. That's great. Shortened up my leader, so I'm about a foot off the bottom. Got this guy.
He's a hot one.
He is a hot fish. Of course, now my indicator's so low on my line, it's in the real thin part, it won't trip. But I've only got, you know, I've only got 7 feet out, so.
We'll deal with it.
Yeah, we can deal with it. It's not like we're fishing 20 feet. Oh, look at that. Fly, just bloop. Yep, just popped out.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it's in the net.
There's not much left of that fly.
No, take the glasses off so I can see. I know it's getting beat up. It's really beat up. Oh, my little Mayfly Nymph, it's getting hurt. That's a nice fish though, isn't it? Hold him up for everybody. Grab him, let him go. There's there. You know, just nice little silver butt. But what a scrap.
Absolutely.
Well, Brian, another great day, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mayflies.
Excellent.
It's always
Mayflies.
special to be able to get into
Yeah.
a mayfly hatch.
You know, we told you a little bit about the life cycle of the mayfly earlier, showed you some technique, showed you the pattern on the bench. I mean, mayflies are a great opportunity on a lake, and same with caddis. Like, that's the next thing we're
That's
going
the
to
next
look
thing,
forward to.
yep.
And when do the caddis come out?
Oh, usually
With the damsels,
yeah,
like June?
damsels
end
and
of June?
damsels and caddis in last half of June into July.
But if you do want the best opportunity, when the mayflies start going, especially you got the opportunity for dry fly too, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
love
And
it.
when you get a heavy hatch, they'll go on them.
Well, I think when we go next time, we'll go after the caddis, maybe some damsels, try something new.
Might be warmer.
I know, every time we fish, we're in our parkas, we're always freezing. But when you come to White Swan, definitely take care, conserve the waters. They do a great job out here. You're allowed to keep some fish, really good eating. And we'll see you next time when we take you sport fishing on the fly.
Want more information? Visit us at sfotf.ca.
To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise, head to www.sfotf.ca. And if you would like to book an adventure like this one showing, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.